So I just want to cover one really important point with presentations and public speaking. This one is really important in terms of audience attention, and it's something that's easily overlooked, but if it's overlooked, it affects how your audience, it affects their attention basically. Because and this is kind of supported by study after study after study. Audience attention, when they're listening to a long presentation, kind of goes something like this. So imagine this is the beginning of your presentation, this is the middle, and this is the end. Now, at the beginning of your presentation, audience attention is pretty good because you're new. They want to know who you are, what you're talking about, so they're all fairly focused on you, yeah? So it's pretty high. But if you don't know what you're doing, or you haven't got your technique perfect, what tends to happen is audience attention falls pretty quickly. And they start fidgeting or looking at their phones or looking out the window, etc. Yeah, it tends to stay down here. I mean, it might come up sometimes and then go down again, etc. And then at the end, it'll come back up. It'll spike up again. And the reason it spikes up at the end is they've heard key words like, "Thank you very much. That's all." I'm like, "Oh, good, it's finished." So they'll come back. Yeah. So the question is, how can we keep attention high here? There are two tricks you can use, and they fairly much always work. The first trick happens right here, right at the beginning, and that is questions. Questions at the beginning. So it would look something like, "Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Joe. Can I ask you, what do you think?" Questions at the beginning. What you do when you ask questions at the beginning is you lock your audience. More or less, they can't really look away from you, yeah? They might be afraid you'll ask them a question, yeah? But you've got their attention, yeah? Few questions right at the beginning. Few questions right at the beginning, yeah? The second little secret happens here. Story. Developing strong story as part of your presentation. What I mean by story, it's not Cinderella. It's more developing narrative. Yeah? You develop a strong narrative around your topic. In other words, you make it interesting. Honestly, try these two steps. They always work. Questions at the beginning, develop story. Yeah. What you will do to your audience is you'll fairly much take them on a journey. Yeah. If you can master these two, I'd love to show you more how.
How would you still make them interested at the end?
Your story, be careful your story doesn't deviate too much from the topic, because you do need to make it relevant, and be careful that your story is not too long, because even a good story, eventually they'll start to, yeah, okay, we got it, move on. So you need to keep it fresh, keep it fresh, yeah. The best stories, honestly, the best stories are ones that mix, okay, there are two ingredients in your mind that if you can stir, they make people really, wow, lock in. The first one is dopamine. If you can stir dopamine in someone's brain, they're like, wow, how do you do it? The best way to stir dopamine? Suspense. That's why we love movies. We go to the cinema like, wow, what's gonna happen? Whoa, that's dopamine. So if you can do that as part of your presentation, as part of your narrative, like, so what happened next? Oh yeah, and then what happened? That's dopamine. They're interested, yeah? The second one is oxytocin. Oxytocin is really the chemical of love. But of course, you're not going to get them to be in love with you. But what you are going to do, another way to get oxytocin is empathy. So if your story has a little bit of, oh, that's oxytocin. If you can combine dopamine with oxytocin, so if you can combine like, wow, what happened next? With, oh, your audience will eat from your hand. They adore you, seriously. And then if you can introduce a third little element, laughter, like there's actually a bit of laughter involved, poof, they love you. That's the secret.